so wondrous free, the little birds that fly with careless ease from tree to tree.
Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobby Pominville, and I'm your art reporter. And today I have invited a fellow singer and musician to join us and talk music, vocal music mainly, but we'll get into some other things too. So welcome to the show, Mike Perkins.
Thanks, Bobby.
It's very nice to have you, and I haven't known you that long, but I can certainly say we share a love of music and singing.
Yes, we do.
And we may find out even more than that from what we've been talking about here.
Yep.
We even like a lot of the same compositions.
We do.
My goodness. Well, and you are just a fabulous bass. And I can say that because you sit right behind me in one of the choirs. And
Yep,
I'm talking
I
about River City Chorale Ensemble Singers. It's quite a name. And then a couple other things we've done in the summer, right?
Yes.
We'll talk about
Yep,
that later.
yep.
But anyway, you're an active singer in the Valley, and you were recently interviewed on Minnesota Public Radio. I was so impressed. So I wanted to bring you on. Could you tell us about that experience?
Sure. It was a lot of fun. First of all, I think anybody that has any interest in it should do it. So go on their website, sign up. That's my plug for that. But it was an interesting story because I had just gotten home from work about 6 months ago, and you get home from work and you start to put away your things, and how's your day? My wife walked up to me and she said, "Honey, I did something, and you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it." And I said,
Really?
"Okay, let me sit down." And she said she had put my name in to be on the program Music with Minnesotans, which is the name of the program. And it's on every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And I used to listen to it driving home.
Yes.
And I had looked at that before, and I thought, oh, nobody really wants to hear what I have to say. So I didn't put my name in, and she did it for me.
Oh, my.
So that was kind of a surprise.
So your wife actually signed you up.
Yep.
But you had thought about it.
I had thought about it, yeah.
Well, that is wonderful. And then, so what happened? Did they call you and they booked you at a certain
No, we did it all
day,
by email.
Oh, email,
so Steve
okay.
Sterrick, who's the host of
Yes.
the program,
Yes.
started sending me emails and asked for a biography. So I had to provide a biography. I had to talk about work, where I worked, what I do, the things that I love about work. And then I had to pick a playlist of 5 songs.
Oh.
And the only guideline they gave me was, remember, it's a 30-minute show.
Yes.
So you can't pick something by Mahler that's going to take an hour and a half to
Oh,
play,
yes,
right?
heavens, yes.
So I had that as a filter in my head, and I started thinking about all the songs that I loved.
Yes.
And I came up with the list that I sent you.
Yes. Yes.
Which they played, and they liked all of them because they're all about 5 minutes or less.
So are you saying they played it during the show and then you talked about it?
Yep. When we finally got to go in and record, we went in, it was 2 or 3 in the afternoon, walked in, and I got to sit in the same studio that they used to do the old morning show in.
Oh,
So if you ever heard, Jim Ed and Dale Connolly, they did that, the morning show, and it's the only studio that still has a turntable in it. They have one in the whole building.
Wow.
And they got a tour and everything, but I got to sit down, and it was a big round table, big microphone right about here, and headphones.
Oh,
So
and
it was
that's
the
radio,
Yep,
so
it
you
was
have
the
to think
complete
about that
radio
huge
experience.
microphone.
Yes, it was big
Well,
microphone.
wasn't that kind of intimidating?
After I started talking to Steve, because we basically sat across about this far apart, and he had a big microphone too, and we just started to talk, and it just sort of disappears. And of course, there was a producer in the room, and he was silent, didn't say anything, but it was a lot of fun. And they introduced the segment, they talk about you, and then they play your first selection, and then they come back, and it's broken into segments. So how did you get interested in music? Play a song.
Yeah.
Tell us about these songs that you picked, play a song, and then a little bit about work, play a song.
So that's not too bad then. I mean, I can kind of see doing that, but I just revere NPR. And I had no idea they had this segment. And I guess I'm often listening to it in my car or whatever, but I must have missed it, whatever.
Every Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
But now you told me about your iPod.
Yes.
What was that you told me about? What's on your iPod?
That was one of the hooks that I used when I was sending in my biography. I said, first of all, I'm a choir nerd.
Yes.
Or choir geek, whatever term
I
you prefer.
totally get that.
Yep, whatever term you prefer. And there are 3 reasons why. One is I own my own tuxedo to sing in the chorale. The second one was I was teaching myself to tie a bow tie because I don't like the pre-tied ones. They just look like pre-tied bow ties.
Yes.
And it's not as hard as you think. It's kind of the same bow as tying your shoes.
Oh.
It's very similar. And the third one is I have 9 requiems or parts of requiems on my iPod.
And are you saying you listen to them off and on through the year?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And of course, this time of the year is rather perfect
Yes.
for a
it is.
requiem.
Yes.
And if any of our listeners don't know about that, we probably should tell them a requiem is a mass for the dead. And every major composer has written a requiem. And this is so astounding because they're my favorites too.
You didn't tell me that.
I just went through my library today of CDs. And I have so many, and I've sung so many because I've been in the Phipps Oratorio for many years. And we have covered a lot of that music. And, oh, you and I are so in sync, it's scary.
I know. I feel like you're my sister. Long
I know
lost,
it.
separated
now,
at birth.
Now,
or
wait a
something.
minute. Are you gonna bring any of those into this interview, or should we just talk a little bit about requiems?
We could, either one. I can tell you.
All right, well, tell me, if you could, maybe your top 3. Now, I know you'll want to go past
Bobby.
3, but.
Okay, Mozart.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely
Yes, that's mine too.
top of his game. It has nothing to do with the way they portrayed it in the movie Amadeus.
Oh,
it
yes.
has nothing to do
Yes,
with that.
that was really crazy. And a lot of incorrect things.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to be mad at me because I'm going to do 4.
Okay, I'm letting you.
The Gabrielle Fauré
Yes.
Requiem.
Yes.
John Rutter.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, yes.
and the 4th one is the Brahms Requiem.
Yes. I don't disagree with one of those.
Excellent. And I've only gotten to sing 3 of the 4 in a choir. I have not done the
okay.
Mozart Requiem.
That's what I'm doing this Sunday at the
Are you
Phipps.
really? Is it too late to get
because
in?
it's been a favorite of mine, for years, that I just have loved it so much. And I've always been trying to influence the director and say, could we do Mozart again? And it finally came back this year. But the Rudder, I have actually sung a couple times, and I directed it at Bethel once.
Okay.
So that was great fun.
Yes.
And
I'm sure it was.
the Brahms, several times. The music from the Brahms is so ethereal. And for choral music, it ranks up there so high with me.
And
So,
it's different.
yeah,
It's
I'm-
different from the others because it's
This
really...
is weird. I have found my brother in
Yeah,
music.
And I like the Brahms because it's not the typical Mass for the Dead. It doesn't follow the Catholic ordinary of the Mass.
Yes.
It's really written more towards those who are left behind. And the Valley Chamber Chorale just did that in February. We presented that.
Right. I
And we
talked
had
to
it on-
someone about
Did
that.
you?
I was going to go to the concert.
You should have come.
Yes.
It was a lot of
I
fun.
wish I
Maybe next time. But we did it with 2 9-foot Steinways.
Oh, yes.
One of them was played by my wife, Gretchen.
Yes, and I wanted to bring that out because you have a very talented wife as well.
She is very talented. She's much better musician than I am.
But isn't that wonderful to have that?
Yes, it's
And to
it's kind
share
of an
that
inspiration
music.
because I can go to her and say, I don't understand.
And we're actually going to get into that a little later
Okay,
when we talk
okay.
about Valley Chamber, because you sing
Well,
in
then
that
I'll
group.
hold off on that.
All right, hold off a little. All right, now we have to go on. What are your top selections for music listeners? And I know you also had to do this on NPR.
I did. And my list has changed a little bit because I think when I presented the list to NPR, it was really, this is kind of the path I took to get into the music that I like today. So you start with, I started with Beethoven's Fifth, the opening movement, and I called it my gateway music. Just because
Every time
I think,
you talk, it's just like
yeah.
every piece you mention is just part of me. But go ahead.
Okay. We'll
I'll
keep
try
talking
to
and
keep
we'll see
quiet
if we
now.
can stay together.
And you go ahead and tell me your favorites.
But I picked Beethoven as the first piece because it was the first CD I ever bought. You know, and everybody knows the Beethoven Fifth. You know
Yes.
the opening motif.
The opening
and
is
everybody-
unbelievable.
Right. And I also picked some really personal music. I picked the Sanctus from the Rudder Requiem.
Yes.
And I explained that I was
lovely.
introduced to the Rudder Requiem as we were driving to Texas for my brother-in-law's funeral.
Oh,
so it was
then
a
it's
very-
got special
Yeah.
meaning.
It does, and I don't listen to it often, but when I do, it just takes me right back to that trip where we were driving down.
Yes, definitely.
Yep, I picked one of the songs of travel, written by Ray Vaughan Williams, sung
Yes.
by Bryn Terfel. And I really liked that, and I said that was the first real classical piece of art song that I had started to work on with my voice teacher. I also picked the overture to the Magic Flute. And there was a story about that he wanted to talk about because I happened to send it in that I really enjoyed that, especially when the Minnesota Opera presented it about a year ago.
Yes.
And the last one is the third movement from the Brandenburg Number 3. 'Cause I just love Bach. You can't move anything in
I'm
Bach and have it
speechless.
still be beautiful.
I'm speechless. You're the first one that's ever come on the show, and I'm like, that's
Okay.
the same movement that I chose for today and for my favorites. And it's because that music is so beautifully written and it's so intricate and it's so complicated. And I like to be challenged. And all the things that he puts into that composition are they just move me. I could listen to it for hours and hours and hours and every day. So yeah, I'm totally in sync with you.
Okay.
Did you get to say them all?
Yes, those are the
Okay.
5 that I sent in, and then I brought you a different CD because I wanted to show the evolution of where I'm moving
Yes.
now.
Oh,
and I
yes,
really like
yes.
vocal music in particular.
Good.
And I've discovered a few singers from Thomas Hampson to Luca Pisaroni to my, if I can say, my celebrity crush, Joyce DiDonato.
Oh, okay.
She's a mezzo-soprano, so she sings the alto part, and she's just got.
Oh,
My
I
wife.
love
This is how my wife describes it.
mezzo-soprano.
She said Joyce has in her voice,
yes.
and I laugh every time because that's what it is, but I don't know how to describe it. in
There's an
words.
extra quality
Yes.
to a voice like that. And that you figured that out is really amazing because I've been studying voice almost my whole life. And what you talked about, actually, I have never touched on this really on the show, but I'm a mezzo technically. But I'm always singing first and second soprano because there's a need.
Really?
And Andy wanted me to sing second soprano this time in that group because when I auditioned, he said, "Oh, you're a mezzo, really?" But because a lot of people can't get up to the high notes and don't sing them effortlessly, I've been stuck on first a lot too. And I like it. So it's not an issue with me. But oh yeah, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
And you being a bass, so you say you're studying voice now, and you have a voice teacher. That's very commendable.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun too.
Yes.
We were talking earlier, and I shared with you a little bit about. I auditioned for the Valley Chamber Chorale right before I turned 50. In fact, we had a dress rehearsal for the first concert was on my birthday, so everybody sang Happy Birthday, and that was the best rendition of Happy Birthday I had ever had.
I'm sure it was.
It was really nice. But I auditioned for that, and I wasn't really sure exactly where my voice part was. So, I just kind of got put with the basses and gradually figured out that I'm not really a baritone. I struggle to hit some of the higher notes that they hit, so I'm really more of a bass too. And I decided I wanted to learn more about how to keep the voice healthy.
Yes.
and to be able to continue, because I don't ever want to stop singing
Right.
in whatever form it takes, if it's church choir or, you know, an audition chorale or whatever it is.
You're very smart to think that way.
Yeah.
I'm into voice care myself.
You have to be, otherwise you start to develop what I think they call it the wobble, where your vibrato suddenly becomes almost visible from, my son
Exactly.
said visible from outer space, but
No, it's very
it's
true.
bad. Yeah, so I want to keep it strong and flexible, so I started studying with a voice teacher, and we joked, you know, this is me embarking on my second half century
Yes.
and trying to study what I want to study, as opposed to how do you make a living. Now it's how do I make a life.
Yes.
So that's
And
what
you're
I'm
doing it for yourself. And the importance of music in your life. So you really want to conquer that realm. And yeah, I've been very lucky because I've taught music for 36 years. So I've had a lot of singers that I have coached. And I've had to really worry about some of them because of nodules and overusing the voice and pushing the voice too hard. And it's been very interesting. I actually taught voice at the high school here for 4 years.
I didn't know that.
I learned a lot.
I'm
And
sure
I
you
taught
did.
voice privately too. But anyway, those are very good comments. The importance of using your voice correctly, of exercising your voice, just like an athlete would exercise. You need to get ready to sing. And then after some of our 2-hour plus rehearsals, my voice can be very fatigued. And sometimes it's voice rest and forcing the water and the tea and the right things.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm totally into that with you. Oh, good. You're doing literature for the bass. I love it. I might even have some of that at home. Okay, now I've got to move on quickly
sorry.
here because we have so many things to talk about. And I'd like to talk about our newly formed audition group, which is the River City Ensemble Singers, directed by Andy Hayes, who's been on this show, and he is, of course, the vocal director at the high school here. But we have a concert coming up April 25th, and Andy is a master programmer. We are doing our concert with the high school chamber choir, which is kind of a select group at the high school, and the River City Chorale Youth Choir. And oh, I can't wait for that because that's kind of my shtick too. So what are your favorite pieces from that, or should I start?
Go ahead.
Because I happen to have this book here. We're
that.
sitting here looking at this. This is a Requiem for the Living by Dan Forrest. This was published in 2014. So guess what? A contemporary requiem. Now, I will admit that there are times when I don't like contemporary vocal music. And I really have to broaden my scope. But this one, we started learning it. And I started really enjoying it. And I found it very singable and enjoyable. And I know we have a movement that's going to go super fast. And we sing in Latin. Do you know why we sing in Latin?
No.
Because it is one of the purest vowel languages to sing. The vowels in Latin are so important for the voice. So therefore, anybody who's studying voice, like at the college level or whatever, would be singing in lots of Latin, solos and that. And plus, you know, in the choral realm too. But anyway, that is why we sing in Latin. Now, I have one other, unless you want to talk about it.
Well,
I'm
I
going
was
to
gonna
defer to
say
you.
This was my favorite
Because this
piece
is
from the whole
J.S.
thing.
Bach.
It is.
And we both love Bach, so tell me what you like about it or what you think the audience might enjoy.
I think the audience is going to enjoy just how all 4 voice parts. See, you know what I want to say before I say it. How they just weave around each other, and no 2 phrases are exactly the same.
Oh my goodness.
And yet, if you move one note, the structure falls apart. And it's almost mathematically perfect in its brilliance and how he wrote music.
And so not just the Brandenburg Concerto, but lots of other things he wrote. But his vocal music is, to me, the epitome. as well. And of course, organ. I have to mention organ because he was an organist. And he had all those boy sopranos. And then, of course, in that day, it was all men in the choir and the boy sopranos, no women. But anyway, this particular piece, like you said, the way the parts are woven together, and you will hear a theme and it'll come up, and then some other part will take it up, and and then at times, all 4 parts are singing, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, but you'll still hear those themes coming. And even if you're doing, like you might say, the frilly part, you still are going to be enhancing that themes in some way. And now, of course, here's the other thing. Lobet den Herrn is in German. So we are learning the German. Now, you just sang in German, didn't you, on the Requiem?
We did.
So you've got a good background then, right?
That's the first piece I've ever done.
Oh, that's the
German,
first one
though.
you did.
So it was a long process, and we had some
Well,
help. One of the
we did.
tenors in our ensemble singers group helped with pronunciation, Steve Polinsky.
Okay.
So he helped us a lot with the
right.
pronunciation and making sure that with German, I think it's the vowels that throw you off because you tend to Americanize them.
Oh,
And
exactly.
it doesn't work then, it falls apart.
The "a" sound in America is never done in German. And then you have some very challenging sounds, guttural sounds. So those things are hard to get in there too.
And make them beautiful.
And yeah, I would say we're still a work in progress, but I think we're coming along really well on it. And this book here could take many, many hours to master. But I like the challenge, and I know you do too.
I do too.
And
if it's too easy, it's not fun.
No, we can't do everything that's easy because, of course, you like a piece when you feel it's your own. I've never felt comfortable yet with this, but I'm getting to a place where I can read the notes, do them in the right rhythms, and not be thrown off by another part.
And then put the foreign language on top of it.
And then the foreign language, of course.
Yes.
So yeah, those two I wanted to mention because I think these are really the big, big focus of our concert. Don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And we're also going to sing it at a fundraiser, but I'll talk about that later. So anyway, any other comments from you about that concert?
No, I actually think I'm looking forward to it.
I am too.
But other than that, I think you said it all.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did
You
I
said it, sis.
monopolize? Kind of?
No, I didn't say that.
All right. Now we're going to talk about your other group, the Valley Chamber Chorale, which I have admired for many years. They are based in Stillwater and directed by Carol Carver, and the accompanist is your own wife. So what fun. You can go home and learn your music. And
Yep.
Very lucky.
We actually get to drive to rehearsal together because I'm in, at times, 4 different ensembles. It depends on what time of the year it is and whether or not they're all
That's
meeting.
right. She's got different ensembles.
I
So
go to
there's a
work.
bigger group then.
Well, no, the Valley
No.
Chamber Chorale is one ensemble, but
Okay.
I sing in that. I sing in the church choir. I sing in Andy's 2 groups, and then I also have voice lessons. So at times,
Yes.
I get up. I'm at work by 7. I get home. Gretchen is teaching piano.
Oh, yes.
So we do this while she's teaching. I don't get to talk to her. And then sometimes I'll go off to a rehearsal just as she's about to get done teaching.
Oh, I see.
And so when I get home at 9:30 or 9:45, whatever time it is, she's on the couch and I get 5 minutes before one of us falls asleep. I'm sorry, I should really tell you, most of the time the one that falls asleep is me. It's not Gretchen's fault, but so we don't talk that much. So
funny.
going to rehearsal together is fun because we get to drive down there together. I mean, we rehearse like 4 blocks from my house.
Oh, really?
It's really convenient.
Now, are you talking Trinity Lutheran?
Yes.
Oh, and that's a beautiful setting for concerts.
It is. It's
Been
very.
there many times.
There are spots that are acoustically challenging, but overall, I think it's a really good sound.
I agree. And I do like the wall. behind the
The
singers.
resurrection wall?
I love that. And I believe it's stone, isn't it?
It is.
Minnesota fieldstone or something.
I'm not sure where the stone
I'm
came
not
from.
sure,
That was
but
in place when we joined it.
I really enjoyed that. The first time I walked in there, I was quite impressed.
Well, the next time you walk in there, not to plug Trinity, but I'm going to anyway, if you walk up to the wall, in the center of the wall at the bottom, there is a rounded stone, and around it are 12 stones radiating outward into the resurrection. And there's some symbolism there.
I think I know what it is.
I think you do too, I can tell. So it's worth taking a look at. It's very interesting.
You know what? I've been really into History Channel lately, and they've been doing Finding Jesus.
Okay, yep, it's
And
that time
there's
of year, isn't
another
it?
show that's coming on very soon, a new movie about the experiences of Jesus and so on. And this being the time of year, I've never been up that close to it.
There's usually choir risers in front of it, but if you
Yes,
can get up
I think most
to
of the
the
time
wall.
I've seen an orchestra chair or a choir singing. Yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. Now we have a concert coming up for you.
Yes, we do.
In April.
Yep, April 11th and 12th, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, and that's at Trinity, both of them.
Yep, Saturday night is at 7:30. Sunday afternoon is at 3, so it's a bit of a matinee.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and the title is A Celebration of American Theater, or Musical Theater, excuse me. So
Yes.
we're talking, it's more modern musical theater than I think most audience members will expect. There are some songs from Into the Woods.
Oh, yes.
So some fairly well-known pieces, but there's also music that from musicals I'd never heard of before.
Oh.
Particularly the most recent one we got and we're starting to learn, it's called, the musical was called 1600, I believe, written by Leonard Bernstein, and it was written about the time of the bicentennial and it runs through some of the events of the earliest White House, so very early in the country's history.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't believe I know that one at all.
I had never heard of it before either.
No, I've
There's
never
also
heard of that one.
a modern one written by one of the men who was in ABBA,
Oh, yes.
Bjorn, and I can't remember his last
Yes.
name because it's very Swedish, and I'm
Yes,
very not
yes, I
Swedish,
know
so
who
I
you're
don't know how
talking
to
about.
pronounce the name.
Yeah.
But it's called Anthem.
Oh.
And we obviously we learn about the theme of the show as part of how to get into and express the music.
Yes.
But the song is written for a Russian man who is in a chess tournament who defects.
Oh.
And the anthem is about how love is the only thing that really matters, and he still loves his country even though he's never going back. And I like that piece of music, that particular one, a lot.
That sounds very interesting.
Yep, there's also going to be some small groups. There's that I'm aware of. They're rehearsing outside of our normal rehearsal hours, so I
Okay.
don't know all of them. But there's a quartet, there's a couple of duets, and there's a couple of solos that you'll be able to hear too. People will be
Lots of
stepping out of the
variety.
chorale. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I really must come to this. This is the week after Easter, I believe.
Yes, one week after
the weekend
Easter.
after Easter. So,
And tickets are
yes.
easy to get. Just go to our website, valleychamberchorale.org.
Okay,
And if you look at the pictures scrolling across the first page and you look way in the back,
I'll find you.
because the basses are always in the back.
Well, that's
I'm
what
in the
I was
back.
going to say. You have to be in the back. You're
Yes.
the foundation.
Yes. Well, speaking of being in the back and where the basses always are, maybe you can answer this. I want to know why the tenor always gets the girl in the opera. Just once. Just once. I'd
Well,
like it to
that
be the other way
probably
around.
is the way it's been written.
I'm sure.
Yes.
But
I
taught
certainly
music for a
don't
number of years.
discriminate against basses.
good.
Oh, so that's going to be a wonderful
Yes,
concert.
it'll be a fun concert.
Oh, what fun.
We're
So-
singing mixed up, so we won't be singing in our sections. And I think we sing better that way because we have to know our parts and you have to
I
listen to
agree
what's
with
going
you.
on around you.
So are you in quartets? Are there enough people to go into?
We're actually arranged on the risers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Soprano, alto, tenor, bass, soprano, alto, tenor, bass.
yeah
all the way
that's what I
through.
thought.
So, yep.
Yeah, I've sung that
Yep.
way, and it's a good
Yep.
way to learn your part
Yes.
and to really hear the other parts.
And we have about 50 singers altogether.
Yeah.
So it's a little bigger than a real
yeah.
chamber group.
Okay.
But it's still pretty intimate. The setting is intimate, and
Okay.
we may or may not be walking around on the stage while we're singing. We don't know yet.
All right. Very good. That's going to be fun. I really have to hear you. Plus, there's a few other people that are singing in the choirs with me that are in that group.
Okay.
So I do want to hear it.
Yes. It'll be
Now,
fun.
let's talk about this summer. We'll start in May and we'll be rehearsing summer concerts for July, and that'll be with the River City Chorale, the original group.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we had 150 or 170 singers last
I
year.
think so.
And I mean, it's just amazing to me that many people come out
Mm-hmm.
and you know, one night a week, and we prepare all this music. And this year we're going to be doing 3 concerts.
I did not know that.
Yes, one in the Lakefront Park,
Mm-hmm.
and that's under the series of music that we have in the park. One will be at the high school, I think, but it could be a different locale. And then the other one's going to be at Como Park in
That'll be
St. Paul. They booked us over there. So we're spreading our wings a little, you might say.
Well, you're finally on the correct side of the river.
Oops.
I'm kidding.
Well, you know
course.
what? We have to share this valley,
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
totally open to that. So
Yes,
anyway,
that will be fun. That's a fun concert too.
something I want to just bring up, and you could go to our website for that too if you really are interested in singing, and you'll be hearing about it, I'm sure, in many different ways. But I think it's www.therivercitychorale.com, or is it org? Well, anyway, we'll figure that out. Now, the one other thing I need to talk to you about is the fundraiser.
Right.
Just a little bit. We really have finally become a nonprofit. And I say that because it took so long to be certified through the state. And we are having that the night before our concert. So April 24th, Troy Burn Golf Club, and the hours are 6:30 to 10:30. And our select group is performing at that. And I'm pretty sure we're doing this, or parts of this. I'm pretty sure we're doing all the Bach. And then we have a couple other lighter pieces we'll be doing. But there will be silent and live auction, a buffet dinner, and a cash bar. And, you know, why do we need so much funding? Well, think about it. We have to pay for the music. We have rentals to various venues. We have instrumental fees, and we always are including various instrumentalists. And compensation, finally, for the director and the accompanist. And, you know, that is really something that a lot of people don't think about. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm just delighted that we have that all set up now. And I'd like to invite anyone that's interested to come to that too. And you can always come to this website, or I just want to mention that I haven't said this very much. We are also on YouTube, and eventually our interview will be featured on YouTube. And I hope that some people can find that. But, you know, there was a time when we were sharing these interviews with the cable channel in Stillwater.
Oh, really?
We were
Okay.
sharing things back and forth. So if you really wanted to, we could, I don't know if it's the same person, but I think it would be. But anyway, we'll look into that too.
Okay.
Because our interviews go all the way to Madison. So there's a lot of visibility there. So I didn't give you time to say much, but I don't know that I need to bring you into that part, you know.
I don't think so. I think you said it all really well.
I think so.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so. And I'm pretty much wrapping up now, but I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for really touching me, because you have just kind of made this so easy for me to talk to you.
Oh, good.
And to share things about music and enjoy music.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that our tech guy can play some of this music for you to hear. And I also want to thank you for listening and supporting us. And hopefully you could make it to some of these concerts. And I'll keep you informed in the next few months too about various things. So I want to thank you all for watching today. And I hope that you will contact us further if you want some more information on things. Thanks again.
Happy birthday.